Have you ever felt crushed by the guilt of disrupting your children's lives after divorce? Today I'm sitting down with Lannette West. You might recognize her from the reality show MILF Manor, but the story she shares today is far from reality TV drama. We are talking about the raw truth of healing after a 20-year marriage, why forgiveness is actually a skill you have to practice, and how she used public exposure to find deep personal healing. If you are trying to pour from an empty cup, stop. You need to hear this first. Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. This holiday season, skip the candles and gift cards. Give the woman in your life something that truly matters. Or better yet, give it to yourself. The gift inside is for every woman who spent decades being everything to everyone else. It's time to remember who you are and rediscover your happiness. This isn't just a book, it's a permission to put yourself first again. Available now, because the best gift you can give is helping someone find themselves. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Lannette West. She is a business professional and single mother from North Carolina. She shot to stardom in 2024 through the HBO Max and TLC reality series MILF Manor, where she stole America's heart. Now she speaks on topics of addiction, recovery, mental health, and all the things the average American woman would like to talk about out loud but often don't. If you are looking for honest, insightful, raw conversation about the things that make us laugh, cry, laugh, and wonder what's going on in the world, Lannette West has some thoughts to share with you. Welcome, Lannette. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So please share with us, how did you become a single parent?
Well, I left my husband about 10 years ago. It was in 2015. It was July 4th, which is our Independence Day, ironically enough. And we had been together for 20 years. Together 10, married 10 for a total of 20. And I just had gotten to that point in my life where I was like, this just isn't working for me. This isn't good. This isn't where I need to be. So I left and set out on my own.
Cool. Awesome. What were some of the things you struggled with? Was there any challenges when you became a single parent? And how old were the kids?
Yeah, so this is 2015. So my daughter would have been, she was getting ready to turn 9. And my son was 18. He had just graduated from high school, which really was where I think I had set the bar many years before, saying I'll just hang in there until my oldest graduates from high school. He's a special kid, and I didn't want to disrupt those pivotal transitional years for him. But my daughter's a little tougher, I guess, or a little more, I don't know, resilient, I think. So I didn't want to wait until she graduated from high school. I kind of wanted to do it before she got too old that she knew stuff wasn't right. And it was too late. Yeah, so they were 9 and 18. And I think probably the biggest thing is the guilt. And the double guessing, second guessing yourself about, I'm turning my children's lives upside down. I'm taking them out of a beautiful home with 2 parents and having all of that guilt associated with it. Because we moved into an apartment where we shared a bedroom and it was less than comfortable. It was safe and clean, but again, it was just a lot of guilt because I felt very selfish in doing what I knew I needed to do for myself. In retrospect, I realized by doing what I need to do for myself, I'm doing what's best for my children. And that was lost on me for many, many years because I made the sacrifice of, fuck, I just won't be happy, I'll be miserable, but my children will have the things that they need. And I think a lot of times we don't really understand how you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you aren't taking care of yourself, how can you really honestly take care of the people around you as well as you want to? So again, a lot of guilt there.
Totally can relate. And I think, because we always like to put other people first before we put on ourselves. Even, I don't know, there was this notion, once you have your kids, it's like, forget about yourself. You have to take care of them. But you're so right, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others?
Exactly, right?
On airplane, they ask to put on your mask first, because if you're out, nobody can help.
Over, right?
Yeah. So during your journey, what helped you kind of overcome that guilt? What helped you become better?
I'm not sure that I've completely overcome it. I mean, I've kind of learned to sit with it, and just having a lot of opportunities for personal growth and understanding that I have to be a little kinder to myself. And those thoughts that are so hateful and so mean to myself, I've got to catch those and reframe them, because it's not fair. I mean, I would never speak to a stranger or even somebody I loved the way I talk to myself. So I had to first change that internal dialogue, because that was very, very destructive. So like I said, I've had lots and lots of opportunities for growth, which means I've made lots and lots of mistakes. You know, learning forgiveness is a skill, and it takes a certain mindset, but learning to forgive yourself is the biggest gift you really can give yourself. And so I think I've done that for the most part, but there are times when things do come up and I have moments of regret, or I have moments of, God, I could have done that better, and then this would have been better for them, and that would have been better. But, you know, I kind of give myself the understanding that I did the very best I could with the information I had at the time.
Totally.
And that's really all that I can ask of myself, you know, is to do the very best you can at that moment. So that helps me kind of get through those times when I'm really reflecting and really kind of beating myself up.
Yeah, forgiveness is a powerful tool for anybody, not just single parents, as we kind of go through life and we dealt different challenges or different issues, even arguments that we have during the day, not to take that into the next day, because every day is an opportunity to create a different day for ourselves. Why bring the garbage from yesterday into today? So letting go, and of course it could be difficult in the moment, especially if we are mistreated. And it's always our ego screaming, how did you allow this? But when we forgive, we allow the baggage, the heaviness to be let go of, so that we can create a different way for ourselves the next time.
That's so true. That summarizes it very succinctly. Exactly.
During your journey, was there any book that inspired you, that kind of was transformational, that you can recommend?
A book?
A book, okay. Yes.
The one that jumps to the top of my mind is the book called The Body Keeps the Score. The author is escaping me. It's a famous author, self-help kind of guy or gal, I can't remember. But anyway, it's transformative, because what it tells you is that the trauma you've been through, you can't deny it, you can't ignore it, because your body remembers it. So you have to heal it. And, you know, there's a variety of ways you can go about doing that, but dealing with it, acknowledging it, talking about it is one of the ways I've chosen to deal with my trauma. And it was really interesting, because I thought, oh, well, this makes sense. This is why this happens, and this is why that happens. And I think when you gain more of an understanding of anything, you're able to be more empathetic and more kind and understanding about it. So the more you learn about yourself, the more compassionate you become with yourself, which I think is so key.
Yes, totally. I love that. I heard from many people that the body keeps the score, because I think one of the things is like everything that we think, everything that we feel, we are like this file system that stores information. Like on a computer, you have video files, images, and text. And our body is just like that, like a big computer system, and all of our emotions are stored at a cellular level. And anytime we recall a negative event or something that happened, we get to store it, and it's kind of lodges in our body. And when we don't do anything, we don't release the emotion, then it can manifest in a disease when it's not addressed. And our body is always listening and gives us signals. But what happens is we outsourced feelings. We give trust the doctor more than we trust ourselves. We trust like the mental, the physical, everything. And we just not listening to our body. Meanwhile, our body is always telling us what's happening, what is the signal. If we gotta just tune in and listen and pay attention, and release the negative emotions, because there is nothing wrong with emotions. They simply created as an alert mechanism to let us know when something is not going in the right direction. Then we get that negative associated feeling. We gotta take a different turn.
I like that.
What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Well, having a 28 and an 18-year-old currently, I would say, honestly, confidence, because that insulates them against so many things. Just knowing that they can believe in themselves, that they're capable, that they're worthy. It sets the groundwork for that self-awareness and that self-love that I think is so necessary to show up as a full human being in the world. And it bums me out that my journey and my enlightenments didn't happen until I was in my late 40s and 50s, because I raised children with the unhealed version of myself. And so I did a lot of damage there. But the one thing I think I did get right was giving them a sense of self and a sense of confidence. I mean, my son struggles with it, I think, a little more. My daughter seems to be well in hand with the whole confidence and capability. Sometimes I'm like, chill out, but she's excelling in life. And so that's great. I think that, again, just being there, instilling that confidence. And in another way you do that is by being there and responding to them and validating them and knowing that they've got someone on their side. And I mean, maybe that's a whole bunch of stuff all in one. But for me, I just see it as building that stability and that confidence within themselves as an individual.
I love it. I think confidence is the most important thing, because it then allows you to then deal with life's challenges no matter what. And confidence is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did your career change as a result of becoming a single parent?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I've been with the same company for 13 years. I was with my previous employer for 15 years. So I've had a lot of stability within my work life. And my current employer was incredibly accommodating, incredibly kind, supportive throughout my divorce, which was not pretty at all. And it was stretched out over about a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, there were restraining orders involved. There was supervised visitations involved. It was not pretty. And they were incredibly kind and lenient and flexible with me regarding scheduling, meetings. And, for the most part, my work life continued normally. And I have this gift. I don't know if it's a gift or a burden or what, but I compartmentalize really well. So it was not necessarily easy, but it was an effective way for me to deal with my personal drama by just putting it in a box, throwing it in the back of my mind, and going into the office and being who I knew I needed to be at work. It was kind of like my escape. So I didn't have a lot of issues at work or a lot of disruption or really any major blips. So that is a gift for sure. I'm very lucky in that respect.
I totally can relate to compartmentalization.
It's highly effective.
Yes, you take that aside, and then this is another part of you that just goes, plasters on a smile, goes through the day, does what needs to be done, and that's it.
Exactly, right? And you're like, I'll unpack that later, until you've got like 4,500 boxes sitting back there, and you're like, damn, I guess it's time to start unpacking some of this, right?
Yes, yeah. And okay, and how did your journey kind of led you to become the reality TV star? How did that happen?
It was quite by accident, completely random. I was approached by what they call a scout on Facebook. She reached out to me through a message request, and I saw the message request some days after she had sent it, and I thought, this is weird. She was saying how she was, a scout looking for participants for a reality show. And I thought, yeah, right. And I guess I was bored, so I entertained it because I was like, oh, let's see what this is about. What kind of bullshit is this going to be? And so we started talking, and she was really nice. And so I didn't want to hurt her feelings by cutting her off, but I kept waiting for her to ask me for my credit card number. And she didn't ask me for anything. She just talked to me and said, I've enjoyed speaking with you. Would you be willing to speak with our casting director out at E1 Entertainment in LA? And I said, okay, sure, okay. And so then once I spoke with the casting director, I realized, okay, this is for real. This is legit. And that's, we sat there and talked, and then I ended up doing like a 15-minute Zoom audition where the casting director would ask me various questions and I would respond via Zoom, and she recorded it and shared it with the producers. And then eventually I was cast.
Whoa, awesome.
Yeah.
How did your family react to this?
Well, it's important to note here that when I was going through this process, me nor any of the other participants knew that this was MILF Manor season 2. We had no idea. We were told the show was called Northern Love. So we knew it was like a dating reality show. And that was really the extent of our understanding about it. It wasn't until the day before filming, when I'm sequestered in the hotel up in Toronto, that a producer came in and said, oh, don't you want to know what show you're on? Get out of here. What are you talking about? He's like, you're on MILF Manor, season 2. And I was like, what? I was like, no way. I cannot I'm going to get fired. Like, forget, being judged by everybody in the world. I said, I'm going to get fired. Like, this is not good. And then, I panicked and they calmed me down. And to the producer's credit, they had valid points. And I, at that point, I was so invested. I mean, hell, I was there. I'd already done all the interviews, the makeup, the hair, I was like ready to go. So I was like, okay, what the hell? Let's see what happens.
Awesome. How was it to be on set? What was it like?
It was fun. It was different. Every morning you had the audio folks, because you weren't allowed to leave your room in the morning without audio. So you always had to be mic'd from the time you were awake and dressed and ready to go until you went to bed. So that was interesting. We got to know the audio folks really, really well. And having the cameras there at first, it was a bit intimidating. And you were or at least I was, very cognizant of where they were. And then by day 3, 4, they're just part of the landscape. Like, they didn't even really affect you anymore. It's like you adapt.
Right.
And I mean, the only times I would notice them is if I would see them running, like the cameraman running somewhere, because I would think, ooh, there's drama going on. Let's go check that out. Let's follow the cameraman. But other than that, you don't really pay them much attention. It was hard for me because the guys have these huge cameras. They're like these enormous cameras, and they're heavy. And so I could see that sometimes they were struggling, and I would talk to them and be like, hey, do you want some water? Or do you want me to go sit down over here so you can sit down? And the producers would yell at me, Lannette, quit talking to the cameramen. And I'm like, but it's hard because they're people, and I felt kind of bad for them.
Yeah.
But eventually, that kind of wore off, and I could just kind of put it out of my mind and go about my day.
Cool. Were there any funny moments or memories on the set that didn't make it into the show?
Oh, God, there's a lot that didn't make it into the show. Of course, there's a lot that did. I'm trying to think. We had one challenge. It was a sexting challenge where we were taking sexy pictures and then sending it to who we were interested in. And that was interesting because, yeah, I'm not very modest, but some of the other girls are. And so, there was varying levels of undress going on. And sometimes, two of the girls would be in the bathroom at the same time getting ready. And, and I had on like a bathrobe. And then they were like, okay, Lannette, it's time. So I just took my bathrobe off and, the girls were out. And I'm like, oh, sorry, because there's like 3 producers and like 3 cameramen. And, and the reason I noticed it was because one of the other participants looked at me like, oh my God, put your boobs away, and to me, it didn't even feel weird. I was just like, oh, I've got to be bashful. I forgot. Not that I'm like a nudist or anything, but, it didn't bother me, being naked in front of people, but it did bother some people. So it was kind of funny, the reactions that were going on in that bathroom.
How did you change or evolve as a result of being on the series?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things that came out of this was very unintended. Certainly not what I anticipated going down, that whole emotional breakdown at the end when I left. And I got a lot of DMs from people, both men and women, but the majority were women, saying, I related to you so much, or my sister relates to you, or, oh my God, you're just like my mom. And They were saying things like, thank you. Thank you for being so genuine and real about it. And I guess they could relate and identify with the feelings that I was having. And it made me realize, I'm really not alone in this. And it helped them too, I think, realize, hey, I'm not alone in this either. Because we're not, but we don't talk about a lot of these things, these emotional triggering things that often. So it can feel very isolated. I think what came of that is me having this desire or motivation to get out and tell my story and to help people understand why I behaved on the show the way I did, why I had such the meltdown. Because there is always a why behind everything. And not just to, have the opportunity to share my story, but in hopes that it would reach somebody who maybe wasn't at a great place in their life and would give them hope or inspiration that they too can overcome and smile again. And because I've been through a lot, and you look at me, you have no idea. But I've lived a very sad life in a lot of ways. So I don't regret any of it or complain about it or feel victimized by any of it. It's just the reality of what it is. It changed who I was supposed to be. And just like those traumatic events changed me, being on that show also helped me to evolve and understand that there's more to life than just about me and my kids. It's about other people too. And what can you do to serve others, help others, and be a guiding light for others that may really need one?
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Such a powerful impact. This unintended thing that came out of the blue that resulted in this. Amazing. What is your superpower if you had to pick one?
Oh, my superpower? I think it's putting other people at ease. Because I find that when I meet people are very receptive to me. And I get a lot of people that will tell me their life story unsolicited. And so I think I feel like a safe place for people. And that makes me feel good because I'm the kind of person that I would have sought and needed when I was young and that I didn't have. So I think that is a privilege, and it's definitely a strength that I admire in myself, for sure.
It's important to make people feel at ease so that they can open up and don't feel so restricted, or what's the right word, caged in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. Was there anybody was there a hero that I called you were looking up to growing up, or a role model in your life?
Yeah, interestingly enough, it was my mother. I was I am the youngest of five. And the first four are very close together, and then there's a 5.5-year gap in me. So I was at home with my mom alone, from 8th grade on. So she was, a very intelligent, powerful, troubled woman who had her own demons. She never struggled with anything like addiction or drinking or anything. She was a workaholic for sure. But very intelligent. She got her MBA. She's educated and very independent. I grew up watching her do everything herself. And I think that is kind of a double-edged sword because it's difficult for me to ask for help sometimes because I'm so hell-bent on doing it myself because I just assume I do it myself. But she was definitely one of the most powerful figures in my life. And we had a good relationship for the most part. There were times that it was not so good. And I can hold myself accountable for some of that as well as her. But she suffered from some mental health conditions and wasn't always in the best place either. But I kind of am at a place in my life where I can give her some grace on that. I think that she did the very best that she could.
Yes, thank you. Love that. What can you share with single parents? What kind of advice would you share for single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenting?
It's overwhelming, right? And so I would encourage you is build your community. Find your friends, find your supporters, find your other single parents, and find those that you can lean on who can lean on you. Because believe it or not, you're not going to be able to go with this alone. You technically probably can do it by yourself, but it is infinitely more difficult to do it all by yourself. And being able to say, hey, I need help. that would be a big piece of advice, because it's okay to need help. It's okay to be struggling, and it's okay to articulate that and ask for help. And sometimes that's a great way to figure out who your real friends are and who your family is, because your family isn't just blood. I think family are the people that are just near and dear to you, that have your back. So I would definitely encourage new single parents to figure out who's got their back.
Totally. I love that. And asking for help is difficult for me too, because I'm always on the giving end of help instead of on receiving. Definitely, right. It's an amazing thing, like how they say you need a village to raise a child. I think you need a village as a single parent as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely.
What's next for you? Any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
Yeah, well, I've finally started putting pen to paper on a book. My mother had shared with me several excerpts from her book, and I'm thinking of incorporating that into my own story, just for, perspective, and kind of co-authoring it with her. She passed away at 19. So in some ways it would be kind of an homage to her to have some of our stories documented like that. So that's what I'm working on primarily. I'm doing some podcasts just to kind of get out there and connect with people. But other than that, life is normal as it can be. My daughter in college, my son, out on his own. So I'm just trying to enjoy them and forgetting not to enjoy myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. And congrats. That's an amazing milestone to put pen to paper and do the book.
The hardest part is just starting, because once you start, it just flows. But it's picking that pen up each day to write that becomes really difficult, because once you start it, it just, has a life of its own.
Thank you. Awesome. Anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
No, we've covered a lot. I mean, there's tons of stuff from the past I don't know that we need to dig into. No, but I think we covered a good bit of it.
Right, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. If people would like to connect and learn more about you, where would they go?
You can go to Instagram. I'm on there as Lannette.West. It's LANNETTE.West.
We'll include everything in episode notes. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom.
Well, thank you for having me. It was so great to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.